Part 14. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 131. Chapter 131. An orange-haired boy lying on the ground, and a red-haired boy sitting on the ground blankly. Wu slapped himself on the forehead. It's all effortless. That red-haired boy has a pair of distinctive eyes. Reincarnation eye? Nagato. Then the orange-haired boy who fell on the ground is the founder of Akatsuki, Yahiko, without a doubt. 2 kids. Those are ninjas. What happened to them? Naoshi noticed that the ninja Iwagakure had fallen to the ground without making a sound, so he hurried over to check. As for Mikoto and Nanoyu, they were the 2 children who had checked something obviously wrong in the past. Fortunately, although the reincarnation eye is special, not everyone knows it. If it's not Jiraiya and Hanzo, who are either knowledgeable or strong on the leader's side, other people will not care even if they are a little strange. After all, there are too many strange eyeballs in the ninja world. Wu, this is a Chunin from Yanyan, and he is dead. Seeing Wu standing still, Zisha felt a little strange, but suddenly he was taken aback. Huh. Someone is coming. Chakra perception came into play, and after a while, he saw a familiar figure running with a little girl. One of the famous Konoha Sunin, Jiraiya. It's Jiraiya-sama. Mikoto and Nanoyu also found Jiraiya, who came in a hurry, and wondered why he was alone. It's you guys. Ji-Lai also slowed down his pace. When he saw Wu and the others, he felt a thump in his heart. But seeing that Mikoto and Nanoyu were taking care of Yahiko and Nagato, and that there were still ninjas who fell to the ground at Naoki, who were obviously not Konoha's ninjas, they were relieved. How is this going? Master Jiraiya, Yahiko, and Nagato. Zionin, who was out of breath, also ran there, but seeing so many people, she was so scared that she hid behind Jiraiya. There are more ninjas again. Don't worry, Zionin, I know a few of them, they are our Konoha ninjas. Yahiko, are you alright, Nagato? Zilla was also stunned. He saw Nagato's special eyes that were always covered by his long bangs. Konoha. Nagato, who was still somewhat sluggish, shuddered, and when he looked up, he saw the Konoha forehead guard on the forehead of Nanoyu, who was treating Yahiko beside him. Yahiko, Konan, Jiraiya-sensei. Ah, Master Jiraiya, I actually met you here. Satoru's voice attracted the attention of everyone present, and he walked up to Jiraiya, as if he didn't see Nagato's eyes. We are being ordered to clean up the Iwagakure ninjas who sneaked in, and the third Tsuchika Jonoji seems to be suppressing Yunyin. So, he doesn't seem to be reconciled to the end of our war with the Land of Rain so soon. So that's how it is. Jiraiya came back to his senses, seeing Wu as if he didn't find anything, secretly heaved a sigh of relief. I haven't been back to the village for a while, so I don't know such important news. Jiraiya also recognized that the ninja who fell to the ground was the Chunin of Yanyan village. So you saved Yahiko and Nagato. They are the children I am taking care of, the war orphans of this country. No, when we noticed the movement, it was already like this. Maybe someone else did it. Ji-Lai was taken aback by Wu-Wu's words, and he couldn't help but look at Nagato one more time, knowing it in his heart. If it wasn't Team Wu, those eyes can't be wrong. The most noble of the 3 pupil techniques, it is the same as the Ninja Patriarch 6-Path Sage Reincarnation Eye. I realize that they are too young, it is normal not to know. In this case, it is better not to tell them. The reincarnation eye must have a special meaning in this world. After making up his mind, Zilla also put on a smile. Since this is the case, it's good that the matter is settled. Come to the place where we live, and let you have a taste of my craft. Then Zilla also stared at Wu with a face of frustration. It's real craftsmanship. Don't take those things out of yours. Well, I'll give you a chance to show off. Wu reluctantly agreed to Jiraiya's request, but found that Zionin beside him was looking at him, and became pleasantly surprised. "You, big brother, are you the brother who fought against Hanzo with Jiraiya-sensei before?" "Ah, Xiaonan. That's right, it's him." Yahiko, who had just finished the treatment, also came back to his senses, and held Nagato's hand, who was still a little dazed. "Nagato. That's him. He is the youngest Konoha ninja who uses ice." Boom. Yahiko was knocked on the forehead by Nanu, and the angry little girl stared at Yahiko, who was much younger than her. "Hey. Your injury is not fully healed yet, don't be so excited." "Ah, yes, yes." Yahiko has great respect for Nanoyo, who can quickly heal his injuries. He didn't know it was called medical ninjutsu. It was the first time he saw the scene of medical ninja treatment, and he felt that the current Nanoyo was simply a rescue angel. For the first time, Yahiko, who is independent, is extremely obedient in front of Nanayu. And Mikoto is taking care of Nagato. She naturally also saw the boy's strange eyes. And strange, these eyes. Mikan touched her eye sockets subconsciously. Although she didn't activate Sharingan, she seemed to feel that the eyes of this red-haired boy were special. "Huh. The color of your hair." After cleaning up the Iwagakure ninja, Nakoki came to Mikoto and Nanu, and became very interested in Nagato's red hair. Grandma once said that the red hair of the Uzumaki clan is rare in the world. With such bright red hair, are you also of the Uzumaki clan? "Huh. I don't know." Nagato was taken aback. For the first time, someone expressed strangeness to his red hair. He quietly glanced at Yahiko's short orange hair, Zionin's long purple hair, Jiraiya's long white hair, and Nanu's beige long hair, and then touched his long red hair. "Hair colors, aren't there many kinds?" Naoki smacked his lips in frustration. Only then did he realize that it seemed only he and Satoru have ordinary dark brown hair. Mikoto's long hair is also relatively common black, and the others have rebellious hair color. "Tisk, let's change the subject." That's right, Satoru was one of the people who fought Hanzo at that time. He's our team leader. Konoha's ice escape genius, a 13-year-old Chunin. Rope Tree crossed his waist and laughed triumphantly. "I have no doubt that if it wasn't during the war, with Wu's strength, he would undoubtedly be able to be promoted to Jonin." "How is it?" "Great." "Oh, it's not you, what are you so excited about?" Yahiko complained a bit, and thanked Nanoyo and Mikoto, holding Natoki's big black face, and ran to Jiraiya with Nagato. "Teacher Jiraiya. This big brother, Wu big brother? Can you teach me about that ice? And that super big water ball? It looks so strong." I'm Mito Mongo, and I'm Jiraiya Sama's junior, hello." Satoru scratched his head, looked at Yahiko with shining eyes in front of him, and sighed secretly. "It's really, how can I meet people who don't live long?" Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 132. Chapter 132, Just a Tool Man. Yahiko is very interested in Satoru's ice spell. He understands that in the land of rain with such abundant water resources, ice escape is much more difficult to deal with than water escape. But he obviously didn't know what the ice escape represented. Although Jiraiya promised to take care of them, but until he discovered Nagato's reincarnation eye, he kept silent about Yahiko's request to teach them ninjutsu. But now, he really made up his mind to teach his 3 children ninjutsu. But before that... Hey! Wu! You kid! Didn't you promise me not to do those fancy things? Ji Lai also jumped and roared. In their residence, now he is the only one guarding a grilled fish. Everyone else sat around the dining table. It was not an ordinary dining table, but the one summoned by Satoru. The eyeballs of the 3 children almost popped out of the dazzling array, unlimited supply and all-you-can-eat tables. Well, this is just our team's regular dinner. I don't think your fish looks too big. There are so many of us, right? Ha ha ha. Don't worry, let's go eat fish, this table, let the children enjoy it, they probably haven't eaten these. Satoru's words silenced Jiraiya. Not only have they never eaten these exquisite foods, these children have had a hard time surviving before. Well, didn't you say that eating too much of that kind of food would cause malnutrition? Come and eat fish. Jiraiya sat down with a single buttock, and Goto, Nesuke, Mikoto, and Nanoyo sat down, and the three children cheered, and began to grow big. Woo, I hope you can keep things here a secret when you go back. Jiraiya looked at Wu seriously, his words stunned the three of them slightly, but Wu didn't look surprised. The famous Konoha son in Jiraiya has taken 3 children from the land of rain as his disciples. Are you worried that there will be opinions in the village? Well, we won't report it. Zilla also secretly heaved a sigh of relief at Wu's words, which was also the reason he wanted to say, Wu had already helped him out. Well, that's it. I even think that if this news is passed back, the first person to express dissatisfaction may be his honorable advisor. Gillette also showed a smile, but still couldn't avoid some complaints. Advisor Mitaman will probably be very angry about my behavior. Oh. The three of Shenshu suddenly realized that this was indeed a problem. You know, Jiraiya not only accepted 3 children as disciples, but also directly broke away from Konoha's battle sequence. If it wasn't because he was Jiraiya, Orochimaru and Tsunade didn't report it, Mr. Consultant should have punished him long ago. Shenshu, you boy, I heard that you have recently practiced a very convenient technique, can I help you later? Jiraiya also smiled and looked at Naoki, who was working hard. They were old acquaintances. When he pursued Tsunade, he often got close to this kid. Tisk. I feel like I'm like what Wu said, a tool man. Nakoki wrinkled his nose and raised his head, seeing Jiraiya's big face. Oh, brother Jiraiya, you are probably out of business with my sister. Brother Duan is more handsome than you, gentler than you in speech, and more likable in character than you. Hey. What are you talking about, you brat? Jiraiya hurriedly jumped up and held down the rope tree. Your sister is a violent woman, I don't care. You are thicker skinned than brother Duan. Okay, I'll be there in a while. How big a house do you want? Seeing Jiraiya and Naoki arguing, Satoru shook his head helplessly. How should I put it, Jiraiya? Maybe, I won't have a chance until I die. At least that's how it was in the original timeline. That, Duin-sama and the teacher seemed to have formed a team to act, even after Jiraiya-sama left. Nanaiyu's whisper was heard by Gillette, and he let out a burst of mourning in an instant. No. Rope tree. I can't take it anymore, go out with me quietly. Aren't you going to peep? Nah. Mikan covered her mouth and snickered. It is said that Jiraiya-sama is enthusiastic and unrestrained, but once the topic of Tsunade-sama is mentioned, he becomes depressed. Well, just pretend you didn't see it. Jiraiya-sama is frustrated in both love and battlefield. The title given by Hanzo is not an honor. He helped these 3 children to atone for his sins. I noticed just now that the red-haired child seemed to have some resistance to our forehead protection. Satoru's words successfully diverted Mikoto's attention. Resist. Why? This is the land of rain. Konoha fought here before. Remember what I said before, the relationship between ninjas and civilians in the war zone? Mikoto was thoughtful, and then her face turned ugly. You mean, our Konoha ninjas have hurt him, even his family? Well, he's an orphan now. Without saying much, Mikan naturally understood what was the most likely scenario. Now she was in no mood to think about Nagato's eyes. Jiraiya's choice, she also understood the reason. Sure enough, I still hate war the most. Sister Mikoto, I want to take care of these children here for a while, just like Master Jiraiya, not for a long time. During this time, Naoki will lead you to carry out the mission, but he is a hot-blooded idiot, and I want you to pay more attention, Mikan. Woojun, have you really decided? Mikan was a little worried, but after what Satoru said just now, she didn't object. Student Wu, let me stay too, I can help them too. Nanao also heard their conversation, and the little girl was still very worried about Wu's absence. No Nayu, I'm fine, without you, Sister Mikoto and that idiot Naoki won't be able to survive. Wu comforted Nanoyu. Master Jiraiya is here, don't worry about safety, I will join hands with him, and Hanzo will be able to escape even if he comes. He couldn't tell them Wu's plan yet, so he had to stay here alone. Satoru is still worried about leaving it to Jiraiya alone. Nagato is a ticking time bomb, and only he knows about it. If you don't meet it, it's fine. Now that you have met it, you can't let it go, otherwise, you may have to pay a higher price in the future. Besides, Satoru still has a little regret. Xiaoshan Tuan, what a pity. Hearing what Wu said, Yanai was relieved, she was still very clear about Wu's strength. Boom. The loud noise outside woke up the three children immersed in the unprecedented food. What's wrong? What happened? Let's go, you three, go and see your new home. Satoru stood up and greeted the bewildered three children. The brother you complained about just now is also very good, building a house is fast and good. Ha! It will be available tomorrow at midnight. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 133. Chapter 133 Testimonials. School starts tomorrow, are you happy? If you are unhappy, you don't have to be unhappy, because I have to print the health code and itinerary code to fill in the form of commitment at night. I still have to play in color, very unhappy. But the second book was able to hit the shelves at the beginning of the month, I am very happy. But the data is not very happy, that Sanjiang's lucky bag, I can't vote quickly. As for this book, there is no doubt that it is a pounce, but I am so angry. Someone said that I would cut it if someone said that he has such a strong character. Impossible, I have added refinement to him at the top, everyone has seen it, whoever said I can cut it, I will give him a refinement at the top. My daughter-in-law appointed me to write Hokage, I dare to cut it, I don't want to live. She doesn't follow the updates, she doesn't read until the end. The release date of this book is Thursday, the status was changed on Monday, and then the recommendation came on Friday. Then he was hanged and beaten all the way, although he didn't keep pushing, but he was always hung and beaten, and he couldn't push at all. The recommendation rules have changed, and the 6-band frequency will reach the top. When Hokpo has never been so important, but I didn't break it this time. It will be launched on the 1st, and the VIP chapter will be opened at 24:05 in the morning. Check to see if it is on time at night. It is said that sometimes the system will be delayed for a few minutes, but at least it will not be dragged out for dinner by the leader 10 minutes before the noon release like the last book. More than half an hour. Thanks to the former editor Xiao Yuan, and the current editor Otter, too good, don't ask. Thanks for the support of new and old book friends, I am the one who stretched my hips, I am really sorry. So the old rules, 10 updates are on the shelves, and the Hall Master Xingmu Jingtang owes 1 update, plus. Thanks to the leader of the previous book Qinglian Daoj for your silent support. I am sorry that this book is a bit stretched, and I will add 1 more. Well, this is the 12th watch. Then, the first order. Although this book is more hip, but the editor boss said that there is still hope, so I hope everyone will give me some face, and don't let the editor boss laugh at me, the name is useless, don't change it, it's useless and it will delay things, slightly. Dear friends who start school tomorrow, don't stay up late, it's okay if you can't come. So what, Gaijin, it hurts so much, I can't breathe. After arduous ideological struggle, I decided. Every 300 for the first order will add one update, every 300 monthly tickets will add one update, and one rewards will add one update. Generally speaking, you will never forget it. If you forget, remind me. Don't worry, you will never be in debt. As for the subsequent update time, it should be at 12 noon. Thanks again to all book friends for their support. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 134. Chapter 134 Toggling Destiny, 112 for subscription. Shenshu finally found a chance to show off in front of the three children. He worked his ass off to build this big house. But then he knew that he would be the temporary team leader and lead the two girls to continue the mission. Wu, you really decided to stay? Shenshu glanced at Jiraiya, who was a little dazed, and leaned over to Wu, and said in a low voice. Let me tell you, brother Jiraiya has some weird hobbies, you can. Yeah, I know, don't worry, I will supervise him. I still know something about the fact that he was almost beaten to death by your sister back then. Wu patted Shenshu's arm with a face full of righteousness and willingness to go to danger. I will let my shadow clone walk with you for a while, just like last time. If you encounter danger, the shadow clone can disappear to let me know. But this time, I may arrive in front of you more conveniently. Shenshu's eyes widened, with a look of incredulity on his face. You mean? Well, the technique of Flying Thunder God, I have already researched some methods. If I concentrate on studying here, I believe I can master it in a short time. What I'm leaving on your arm is the Flying Thunder God technique. Although it's useless now, once I successfully master the Flying Thunder God technique, I can come and go here and around you at any time. Wow! Wu, you are indeed a genius. No problem, leave it to me later. After sending away Nakoki, Mikoto, Nanoyu, and his mirror image, Wu entered the house made by Nakoki and saw Jiraiya, who was somewhat silent. Master Jiraiya, I just happened to have a technique to study recently, so I'll be lazy for a while, don't you mind? Brat, that's the Flying Thunder God. You actually figured out how to do it? I can't even understand that thing. Sighing, Zille also scratched his long white hair, glanced at the three children who were so happy to see such an exquisite house for the first time, and then turned to Satoru again. Call me Jiraiya-sensei, don't be an adult. If you hadn't been a fool at the time, now we are the same famous Konoha 4 ninja. Your teacher Dashimaru and I have a good friendship after all. Hanzo really took the name of Ghost, what an ugly title. Wu sat down and stretched, ignoring Zille's stinky face. Then Jiraiya-sensei, I'll teach you a lot later. Of course I'll help you take care of those three children. TCH, obviously I'm still a child. Gillette also curled his lips, resting his chin with one hand. Okay, boy Wu, we can be regarded as, we have a fateful friendship, according to the name of Naishu. It's okay if you call me Big Brother, but Orochimaru may not be happy. Although I'm not reconciled, I have to admit that even with an extra year of study, Minato and Yoshimaru are far inferior to you and Nakoki. Speaking of his disciples, Jiraiya also had a smile on his face. You have a good relationship with Chiudeo's family. Their next generation patriarch, Dingzo, is a child of you, right? Kid Yoshimaru, you have to take care of me for the few years I've been away. Minato's talent, let me put it bluntly, he can surpass that boy Naoki. I was shocked by his talent in time and space. Originally, I also planned for him to grow up a bit and help him apply for the practice permit of Flying Thunder God technique. Oh Jiraiya-sensei, Are you going to stay here for a long time? Satoru pretended not to know anything, and expressed his shock appropriately. The three of them all call you teacher, and you leave Minato and Yoshimaru alone and come here to accept 3 children as disciples? I don't believe it. You don't know their attitude towards us Konoha ninjas. You can see it. Ji-Lai was also silent. He stayed because he hoped to take care of the 3 children until he could stand on his own. Now that the aftermath of the war is far from over, it will take several years to teach them ninjutsu to the point where they can stand on their own. But Wu obviously wouldn't stay here for so long. He said that he had recently reached a critical moment in practicing the Flying Thunder God art and wanted to meditate for a while. That's why Zilla also said that he would help take care of his disciples. This can be regarded as an insignificant atonement. If they can make a career in the future, it can be regarded as a good relationship for me. They have lofty ideals and the determination to fight for them, and since they met, it is fate. If I leave them alone, I will not be able to pass my own level. Even if they might use what you teach in the future to endanger the village. Wu's sharp words made Zilla also clenched his fists tightly. Obviously, he also had such concerns. That's for the future. If that's the case, it will only prove the failure of my education, and I will definitely clean up the door myself in the future. It's a pity that you, who cleaned up the portal, were finally cleaned up. Shaking his head, Wu was silent for a moment, and let out a long breath. Okay, as a reward for accepting Mr. Jiraya's protection during this period, I will also participate. Looking at Jiraya's surprised eyes, Wu pouted. I have to say, I'm still a million times more familiar with children's psychology than you. Counting it all together, I am also a senior of their seniors. In terms of age, they may be easier to accept. As long as you don't mind teaching them, it's fine if I learn it. Ha ha ha, I don't mind. Of course I don't mind if you learn more from me than Dashimaru. Doesn't it mean that I am better than Dashimaru? Ji-Lai also patted the table and laughed. He knew how powerful Wu's learning ability and unique technique were. With his help, it would undoubtedly be much easier to teach the 3 little guys by themselves. As for the secret of the reincarnation, Kid Wu is a trustworthy person. He is different from Orochimaru. He is much more principled. It's not the same as his father Mightyman Consultant, not so rigid, but this matter needs to be observed for a while before deciding. After making up his mind, Jiraiya stood up, clapped his hands and greeted the 3 little guys. Yahiko, Nagato, Konan, here we come. Teacher, I'm here to introduce you to your senior brother. Seeing the 3 little guys running down cheering, Wu scratched his head a little bit. Although he is full of confidence in front of Jiraiya, he still needs to guard against threats that even Jiraiya doesn't know. The proportion of this needs to be carefully grasped. Done, Konoha's research ability has really improved a lot. On the ground in the distance, a lump of black unknown object gradually rose. On the black unknown object, 2 eyes were born, and a pitch-black human head was formed. But the power is really terrible. Maybe he will be eligible to be included in Madara's target when he grows up and becomes stronger. The most important thing now is that the Eye of Reincarnation has been noticed. Konoha-Sunin? He. What will he choose to do? Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 135. Chapter 135 Intervening in the Prophecy, 212 for subscription. Mr. Jiraiya, I have to say, the basics, you and Mr. Orochimaru are basically the same. Seeing the way Gillette also taught the 3 children, Wu couldn't help complaining. Don't you guys develop your own unique teaching methods? Well, that's because Dashimaru and I were taught by the same teacher. Jiraiya also didn't care about Tao, and he really felt a little pressure to teach 3 children who didn't know anything about ninjas. How do you say, the master leads the door, and the practice is up to the individual? Okay, how about that? I'll teach Yahiko, Nagato, and Konan. Come, he wants to learn my cooking skills. Satoru smiled slightly and made his own suggestion, and then he saw Yahiko's eyes light up. Really? Can you really teach me that magical technique? He understands very well what the food creation technique means to the displaced people during the war. That really is life. It's possible, but it's only for emergencies. If you eat too much of that stuff, you'll be malnourished. Wow, that's great. Yahiko cheered excitedly to Nagato and Konan, who were still a little confused. After learning that technique, we will never have to go hungry again. Hey, you didn't listen to me at all. Wu's helpless appearance made Zilla also burst out laughing. Are you willing to teach Yahiko this technique? Then this kid will entrust you. Hey Yahiko, you, senior brother Wu, although you are my junior, the disciple of that pale-faced, black-haired, and annoying guy, you have seen your strength. His teaching, for you, is not much different from my own teaching. The three of us can come and listen to the class of the two of us. Satoru glanced at Jiraiya with some surprise. Originally he offered to teach Yahiko in order to minimize contact with Nagato, so that Jiraiya could feel at ease. But Jiraiya didn't seem to shy away from him. Actually, a smirk rose on Wu's face. As for me, in the ninja school, I am the student known as the most solid foundation. The effect of my tutoring is recognized by even the teacher. The young lady who used medical ninjutsu before is the foundation of my tutoring for her. Ji Lai was also stunned. He felt something was wrong, so he heard and continued. Mr. Jiraiya, he was famous for being the tail of the crane in his class, ahahaha. Hey. Wu. You bastard, how dare you slander me? It didn't take Wu too much time to teach the three children. In terms of basic education, Jiraiya held his nose and retreated after reading the lesson plans written by Wu. Much smarter than what he learned in ninja school back then. Therefore, the basic ninja knowledge was actually taught by Wu to Yahiko, Nagato and Konan. As for advanced knowledge such as chakra's nature changes, Zilla, who has multiple nature changes, naturally does his part. As the contact time increases, Wu also gradually discovers that, as the few information shows, Yahiko is a protagonist template without the aura of the protagonist. Unswerving goals, willingness to make unremitting efforts to achieve goals, incomparable friendliness to friends, unreserved trust, a leadership aura that has already emerged, and an optimistic attitude no matter what difficulties. Enough for secondary too, firm enough, absolute idealism, good looks are also online. It's just that Yahiko doesn't have any special talent in terms of strength. Although he has learned ninjutsu very quickly and worked very hard, when it comes to the development prospects in terms of strength, both Jiraiya and Satoru can see it. He is the weakest of the three children. It's not even as good as Konan, who has Yang escape chakra. Not to mention, Nagato, who has the blood of Samsarian and Uzumaki. After getting along for a period of time, Jiraiya finally chose to tell Sato about the reincarnation eye. Although Satoru was surprised that Jiraiya would be so open and honest with himself, but the reason of Jiraiya made Satoru speechless. Wu, your identity, strength, and development potential are here. Sooner or later, you will come into contact with these high-level secret information. The three children were practicing by themselves, while Jiraiya was talking with Satoru alone. Nagato's eyes, although you didn't say it, but I can see that you have noticed the abnormality. For the village's senior management, one of the signs of the Six Path Sages, the eyes of reincarnation, is no secret. Especially Konoha, who has two of the three major pupil techniques, white eyes and sharing eyes, and naturally there will be records about the most noble reincarnation eyes. In the future, this will be the content that you can come into contact with. However, I don't plan to tell the village's senior management this news now. I don't want anyone to interfere with Nagato's growth. He should have his own destiny. So, Jiraiya-sensei, you decided to teach them ninjutsu because of the prophecy and Nagato. Enlightenment was surprised that Gila would also tell himself this news, but this surprise was also interpreted by Gila as the surprise of knowing the secret of the reincarnation and Enlightenment did not intend to correct it. I respect your decision, but I am not very optimistic about the so-called child of destiny, even if it is the prophecy of the great Toad Immortal. Zilla also widened his eyes. You kid, how dare you say? You have never seen the miracles of the great Toad Immortal. Miyamu Mountain has been passed down for thousands of years, and the prophetic dreams of the great Toad Immortal have not been forbidden. Haha, maybe your understanding of the prophecy is wrong? Is your understanding wrong? Zilla was also taken aback. That's right, I'm more optimistic about Yahiko, he will be an excellent leader. Nagato doesn't have his charisma as a leader, and changing the ninja world can't be done with just a pair of eyes. Yahiko has no strength, and his talent is mediocre, but I can help him. I don't know, did Immortal Toad foresee my intervention? Smiling confidently, Wu stood up and walked towards the three children. Talent can be transformed into strength, and so can knowledge, but the difference is that knowledge can also change the fate of others, just like the fact that I joined hands with Mr. Orochimaru to change the fate of the tree. And now, you're witnessing another child's fate being changed. Jiraiya stared blankly at Satoru beckoning Yahiko to go elsewhere, smiled wryly, got up, and pointed to Nagato and Konan. Same fart temperament as Orochimaru, obviously I am still a child. Changing the fate of Zishu, well, I admit that what you said makes sense, so I will wait and see. In a daze, Yahiko followed Satoru to an open space. The rain is pattering down, it seems that it will never stop. Yahiko already knows that it is not an easy task to learn the art of making food. What he is doing now is the basic practice of nature change. Yahiko, the nature of your chakra is water, and Jiraiya-sensei also helped you successfully cultivate the nature of wind. Although they are all basic ninjutsu, they are a very important foundation. Yes, Brother Wu, but Master Jiraiya seems to be best at changing the nature of fire. Why do you insist that I learn wind first? Because your talent is the worst among the three of you. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. Yahiko opened his mouth, but before he could say anything, he heard Wu continue. So, in order to give you the power to realize your dreams, you must possess the changing nature of water and wind. Because of these two changes in nature, they can be fused to form a blood succession limit that surpasses most ninjas' ice escape. Yahiko stared wide-eyed, looking at the ice spear that was gradually forming in Satoru's hands. It was the ninjutsu that Satoru used to fight against Hanzo he had seen with his own eyes. Want to learn? Think. Well, get ready for hell. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 136. Chapter 136 Blood Succession Formation, 312 for subscription. Sweji boundary was originally an external term used by Wu to disguise ice magic. Anyway, no one can verify this thing, unless he has descendants, he. But since Satoru discovered the connection between natural energy, arcane power, and chakra, he discovered that he could really pinch the two natures of chakra to form a fusion attribute. But this method of using arcane power to forcibly fuse the changes in chakra's nature is, strictly speaking, just a simulated blood succession limit. First of all, it is definitely impossible to inherit through bloodlines, but it can use a method similar to the transformation circle to fuse two chakras of different natures that were originally extremely difficult, making it much easier to achieve the real blood inheritance limit. If we want to insist on the success rate, it is from almost impossible to hard work, and it is always possible. Therefore, this newly developed magic circle named Sweji Magic Formation by Wu, or the saying instrument, is a plug-in for practicing Sweji's limit. However, In order to develop this kind of magic circle, there must be data corresponding to the final effect. That is to say, if you want to simulate a blood succession limit, Wu must have a deep understanding of the effect that this blood succession limit can achieve. Now, Wu can only imitate the ice escape, because Wu has already practiced water escape and wind escape in order to cover up the ice escape, and the real ice escape chakra can be integrated with a little effort. As for the fusion of several other types of chakra nature changes into blood succession boundaries, theoretically Satoru can do it, but it is completely unnecessary. Even if Onoki's Dust Dunksu has been eliminated, and the Mudun that Konoha's senior officials have been obsessed with, in the face of the arcane power of the original level, it is not worth Wu to spend time on special research. Maybe when I have free time, I will come up with it, but that will be a long time later. Teaching Yahiko Bingdun, Wu has no pressure at all. The escapism blood succession limit, even the elimination of blood succession can be learned. This is something that everyone in the ninja world knows. It's just that this difficulty is really breaking through the sky. The most important thing is that the vast majority of bloodline ninjas are bloodline boundaries inherited from bloodlines. They don't know how to integrate the two types of chakra changes. It is an instinct. So unless it is taught by the first generation escapism blood succession ninja who created the blood succession limit with his own strong strength, very few people can learn it. As for the plug-in thing, Yahiko didn't understand, but Wu, as everyone remembered, the first generation of Ice Escape Blood Ninja, he said that Yahiko has this talent, so he has it. Right now, Ju or Mr. Weavong must be watching Nagato somewhere, watching all the people who are close to the eyes of reincarnation, so the fewer people around Nagato, the better. But now, no one knows what Yahiko means to Nagato, therefore, if Yahiko is kept alive, Nagato will not be blackened. Yahiko must have the power to protect himself, and he must have a background that a smart person can see. Ice Escape, at the same time represents the powerful power of the blood successor limit level, and Wu smiled coldly and said to himself, represents me. Yahiko didn't know how hopeless the cultivation of Suejijija was. He who has been enlightened, although he is experiencing the pain of hellish cultivation, he can always see the hope of success. This is a question of proficiency. Most people can't even see the hope of the real Sueji boundary cultivation. The life of cheating does not need to be explained. Yahiko successfully merged the chakras of water escape and wind escape in just 3 months at a speed that made Jiraiya hug his head and exclaim, and achieved the limit of ice escape and blood succession. With the addition of an artificial cheat to the protagonist template, the current Yahiko looks a little bit free from his fate. And after that, Yahiko also got his wish and learned the unique skills of enlightenment, the ninjutsu version of making food and water. It's just not as delicious as what Wu made. Senior brother Wu. I still can't condense the ice to this extent in an instant. Yahiko has practiced the ninjutsu version of Satoru's signature ice spell, but he has never been able to learn this ice barrier that is said to be immune to all damage. It is difficult for chakra to achieve the freezing effect produced by compressing water elements with arcane power. Therefore, the learning difficulty of the ninjutsu version of the ice barrier has reached S level without any surprise. There is also a body of ice. It is really difficult to continuously output chakra. Well, Yahiko, you kid, do you want to run just after learning to walk? Satoru gave Yahiko a headache. You still have a lot of time to practice slowly, but I can't watch you here anymore. I have to go back to the village. The mirror image clone has dissipated long ago, but now Wu has successfully analyzed the Flying Thunder God technique. Relying on the Flying Thunder God spell left on Naoshi's arm before, he can already freely go back and forth between Naoshi's side and here. Instant teleportation. Therefore, the information on Zishu's side is shared with him here. Just 3 days ago, they received an order to return to the village, and now, it was time to leave. Brother Wu. Yahiko was startled, and the ice crystals on his hands dissipated. Are you leaving now? My technique has been cultivated. Teacher Jiraiya will continue to teach you, and you should continue to learn from him. But, Yahiko, you should know about Nagato, right? Satoru's words made Yahiko silent. Yes, senior brother Wu, Nagato's eyes are reincarnation eyes. After Mr. Jiraiya told Nagato, Nagato told me and Zionin. Wu Yi looked exactly like this. The importance of this matter, believe that I don't say much, and you understand. Telling the matter of Nagato to the two of you represents complete trust in you, the kind without reservation. But Nagato's temperament is relatively soft, and he has no assertiveness. If you don't have a strong will, you will have big problems if you have a big killer like the reincarnation eye. And you are Nagato's guide, the key person who guides him to use his power on the right path. The guide. Yahiko was a little confused. Brother Wu, what does this mean? It doesn't matter if you don't understand now, as you grow older and more experienced, you will soon understand. Satoru's words seemed to reveal a trace of unusual information, but Yahiko still couldn't fully understand. Yahiko, Nagato's red hair is the symbol of the Uzumaki clan, and the relationship between the Uzumaki clan and our Konoha hidden village is extraordinary. But the Uzumaki clan has never had any records of reincarnation eyes, not even their most famous distant relatives, the Thousand Hands clan. Nagato is very special. The appearance of the eyes of reincarnation cannot be so sudden. Therefore, when using the eyes of reincarnation, be careful and careful. You don't need to belittle yourself because of Nagato's potential. Remember, whenever you give up and entrust your dreams to others, it is a foolish and irresponsible behavior. Yes. Brother Wu, I won't give up. Although Yahiko didn't know why this Konoha ninja, who was called a senior, was actually a teacher, would say this to him, but what he said was undoubtedly correct. Just as I thought. I will save this country with my own hands, eliminate war, and bring peace. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 137. Chapter 137 Your Own Idea of Peace, 412 Begging to subscribe. Eliminate war and bring peace. The rain is still falling, and the dark sky seems to never see the clearing time. Yahiko, I believe that in the long history of the ninja world, there are people who want to eliminate wars and yearn for peace. There are countless people who have the same thoughts as you. In front of Yahiko, an image appeared, which was the arcane illusion cast by Satoru, an auxiliary spell similar to stereoscopic projection. Mages usually use this convenient spell to assist in research, and of course it can also be used as a powerful aid in teaching. Right now, Satoru is showing Yahiko the map of the ninja world that he understands. The world is not small, and the Kingdom of Rain is just a tiny bit of it. There are 5 major countries, many small countries, and an ocean that is not much smaller than land. Yahiko opened his mouth wide and looked at the ninja world map that Satoru showed. Although he knew that the Land of Rain was the battlefield of the 3 kingdoms, how could war orphans at their age understand how big the world is? The Kingdom of Rain, and the 3 major kingdoms they know, plus the Kingdom of Iron, which is at war with Yuyan, and the bordering countries of Grass, Bird, and Sichuan, are basically the world he thinks. Ninja culture is the mainstream culture in the world. Therefore, this world is now called Ninja World, but in fact, there are many other cultures in the ninja world. Witches from the Kingdom of Ghosts, monks who still exist in various countries, warriors from the Kingdom of Iron, ancient and mysterious secret places, and many unknown families of secret arts. But even in countries where ninjas are the mainstream, people's thinking is very different due to differences in regions, traditions, cultures, etc. So, world peace is a very large concept. How to ensure the balance of interests among so many forces is the key to the problem. There are strong and weak countries and forces. The strong do not bully and the weak strive for advancement. The premise is at least that there is no conflict of interests. But senior brother Wu, people's desire should be to live comfortably, right? Isn't war launched by the rich and powerful to realize their ambitions? Yahiko hurriedly explained his understanding of war. Being a strong man who can do whatever he wants, can make the world no longer have wars? Enlightenment smiled, and the arcane illusion changed into a man with long black hair and gentle eyes. He was dressed in crimson battle armor and a Konoha forehead protector. His face was resolute, revealing a strong self-confidence. This one, you may not know him, he is one of the founders of our Hidden Leaf Village, the first generation of Hokage, Senju Bashirama. Satoru introduced to Yahiko, you know Hanzo's title, half-god, but this one's title is God of Ninja. He can suppress even natural disasters. If your so-called strong man is the best in the world, Kinshao Zujian deserves it. He was the one who ended the chaotic warring states period and created the one country, one village system. He was the most powerful man in the world at that time. Yahiko's eyes widened, and he couldn't help exclaiming he knew how strong Hanzo was, and the difference between a half-god and a god was vastly different, no need to ask. Satoru's words woke up the shocked Yahiko. However, even Senju Hashirama, the first generation of Hokage, who is as strong as a god, cannot rely on his own power to make people in the entire ninja world eliminate barriers and share peace. In fact, he couldn't convince even his closest brother-like friends. The system of one country, one village made the continuous wars during the warring states period evolve into what it is now. During the stable period, small-scale frictions, conflicts accumulated to a certain extent, and world-class wars broke out. Counting from the official establishment of the one country one village system, it is now the end of the Second Ninja World War. Wu's arcane illusion changed again, and the images of nine-tailed beasts appeared in the illusion. The terrifying destructive power made Yahiko turn pale with shock. What's this? This is a natural disaster that has existed since the Sage of the Six Paths. Tailed beasts according to the number of tails, from one tail to 9 tails, each of them has the power to wipe out a country. And the 9-tailed beasts from back then were captured by the first generation of Hokage, Senju Hashirama, and distributed to the various hidden villages as a deterrent to war. The purpose is to make the major countries have scruples and cannot start the war lightly. Satoru shook his head, and continued under Yahiko's shocked gaze. However, even with this level of insurance, war has not disappeared. On the contrary, as the previous imbalance of the country intensifies, the scale is getting bigger and bigger. The root cause is the so-called harmonious coexistence between people. It is okay to be small, but when it is enlarged to the country, it lacks the major premise. Major premise? Yahiko looked into Satoshi's eyes half understanding. Although the other party was only a young man, what Yahiko saw at this moment seemed to be a soul more mature than Jiraiya-sensei. It's still what I said just now, interests, for their respective interests, war will never be extinct, and for the same interests, even if they are enemies at one moment, they can have a drink and chat together at the next moment. Yahiko was thoughtful, this kind of truth can be seen everywhere, even in the marketplace. It turns out that there is no difference between countries and the conflicts between uncles and aunts who sell vegetables in the market. Satoru was amused by Yahiko's metaphor. Indeed, in order to grab customers, the competition between businessmen and those things between countries are essentially the same. That's right, because countries are made up of people, let alone decision makers. So, strong power is the prerequisite for peace. Yes, without power, no one will listen to you, but if the fundamental interest problem is not resolved, things still cannot be resolved. Then how to solve the problem of interests? Yahiko was eager to get an answer, but Satoru thought for a moment and didn't answer him directly. I have my own ideas. Although you are still young, you must have your own ideas. I'm just explaining what I've learned, but how to solve it, I hope you can find the answer through your own growth. If I tell you that you believe it and then do it, then at best, you are just a continuation of my will, and you haven't personally witnessed this world, then doing so is tantamount to erasing your free will. When you have your own ideas and put them into practice, we can sit down and discuss them. At that time, we will be comrades in the united front. Brother Wu, you, like me, want to eliminate the war. Yahiko rubbed his nose, his face became firm. I will work hard. I will see with my own eyes, do it with my own hands, and find the right path. Very good, then I'll wait and see. Teacher Jiraiya also holds this expectation, but he seems to be very obsessed with the prophecy, looking for the son of prophecy in destiny. But I think, instead of believing in prophecies, it is better to believe in yourself. Every choice you make will lead to a different future. I should go, Yahiko, say goodbye to Jiraiya-sensei for me. Waving to the reluctant Yahiko, Satoru disappeared instantly. Don't worry, Brother Wu, Yahiko, will definitely control my own destiny. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 138. Chapter 138 The True Function of Magic, 512 for subscription. Oh. You're back. Wu's teleportation target is around Naoshu. When he appeared, Naoshu and the others had not yet reached the village. And when the four of them returned to the village in the form of a reorganized team, they went to the hospital immediately. Orochimaru stood at the door, seeing the dusty Wu team, he forced a smile and nodded. Teacher Orochimaru, what's going on? As soon as Naoki saw Orochimaru's expression, he knew something bad had happened. Rushing to call them over, could it be? Naoki, your sister's lover, Jonin Kato Dan, died of serious injuries during the mission and died. Orochimaru's words surprised everyone. Because of the relationship between Nawaki and Nanoyu, the team, including Mikoto, knew that Nawaka's sister Tsunade had a boyfriend, not Jiraiya or Orochimaru, who were also son-in with her, but this Kato Dan. How could it be? Big brother, can't sister save him? Naoki became anxious when he heard that, just like when Jiraiya was pursuing Tsunade back then, he spent a lot of effort to clear his side, this Kato Dan who fell in love with his sister. Nakoki was still pricking his heart in front of Jiraiya before. Nanoyu once said that after Jiraiya stayed with the three of Yahiko, Tsunade, and Orochimaru led the teams to continue their missions. Kato Dan is the Jonin who teamed up with Tsunade to carry out missions. And as one of Orochimaru's few friends, after Kato Dan was seriously injured in the mission, he rushed to support almost immediately. At that time, Tsunade tried his best to treat Kato's serious injury, but he couldn't treat Kato's serious injury. The trauma suffered by Nawaka was not serious, and some of his internal organs had disappeared. Tsunade completely lost his sense of proportion. Watching her lover's life gradually dissipate, fear and powerlessness occupied Tsunade's mind. She was even bewildered, and only knew how to use medical ninjutsu to stop the bleeding. And Orochimaru, who had arrived at the fastest speed, witnessed Duin losing his life. Originally, Kato Dan was one of Orochimaru's few friends, and he was very pleased that he and Tsunade could look at each other. After all, although Orochimaru knows Jiraiya's feelings for Tsunade, he and Jiraiya have always been in a wonderful relationship of can't understand each other and can't kill each other. Kato Danran is handsome, powerful, gentle, and nice to speak, much better than Jiraiya's pervert. But the situation on the battlefield is changing rapidly. As a long-range intelligence and assassination ninja who is good at spiritual ability and specializes in the forbidden technique spiritualization, Kato's body skills and physical fitness are relatively weak. But he is a Jonin after all, so the battle that he can't deal with can be seen how tragic it is. Zishuyowu patched him in advance, and when the accident happened, Wu was by his side, and he did not hesitate to expose the ice magic, but also used the ice barrier to save him. Kato broke, but not so lucky. Although he had Konoha's strongest medical ninja Tsunade by his side, The incident happened too quickly. With such a serious injury, perhaps in a hospital with complete medical facilities, it is possible to save Kato's life. But on the battlefield where the rain was pouring, even Tsunade couldn't do it. She could only ask Duan to say a few more words. Tsunade, she, has been greatly stimulated. Naoki, go and see her, the only one who can help her now is you, my own brother. Well, Nanoyu, you can go too. Orochimaru sighed. Naoki and Nanoyu nodded quickly, and rushed to Tsunade's office in a hurry. Mikoto, you go back first. Your Uchiha clan went to the battlefield, and there were a few sacrificed. Uchiha Fugaku is arranging their compensation. What? When Mikoto heard this, she also became anxious, bowed to Orochimaru, and nodded to Wu. Then I'll go back and have a look, Gokun, Tsunade-sama. Don't worry, Sister Mikan, I will let you know if there is any situation. Mikoto nodded and left quickly. There was an unspeakable silence. After a long time, Orochimaru spoke. Wu, tell me, people, why are you so fragile? Even if you have great strength, you will die so aggrieved in the face of a small trap. After working hard for more than 20 years, and even mastering the forbidden technique of spiritualization, one should have a bright future. Not only Duan, in the Great War, outstanding ninjas sacrificed too much. Life is so fragile, which strengthens my belief, to become the ultimate individual, to be fearless of everything. Well, how should I put it? Seeing Orochimaru's disappointed expression, enlightenment got a little tangled. He was finally overwhelmed by the stimulation. In my opinion, ninja is a wonderful profession. Satoru's words attracted Orochimaru's attention. Wonderful. Why? The existence of ninjas seems to be for fighting, but since it is for fighting, among the many ninjutsu, there are very few ninjutsu to protect oneself. Wu shook his head, and 3 spinning ice balls rose around him. My spells such as Ice Shield and Flame Shield are basically maintained throughout the war zone. Even if I encounter sneak attacks and traps, they can reduce the damage or even completely resist the damage. But among the existing ninjutsu, there are almost a handful of ninjutsu that can maintain protection like this, and they are basically secret. Isn't this weird enough? Enlightenment looked at the changing eyes of Orochimaru, and spread his hands. The offensive ninjutsu is stronger than the other, and there are many medical ninjutsu, but the protective ninjutsu still stays at the level of actively defending only when the opponent zooms in. With the relatively fragile bodies of ninjas, those powerful offensive ninjutsu, if you can't avoid them, you will almost die if you hit them. Haven't ninjas been taught a lesson for hundreds of years? The ninjutsu of continuous protection, it's too difficult. Orochimaru stroked his chin, thoughtful. Wu's shield spell was indeed a very special spell, but the principle behind it was also very difficult to operate. So, it's basically a secret. Your enchanting tempering technique. Orochimaru's eyes are getting brighter and brighter, and Orochimaru has been in contact with magic for a long time. To put it bluntly, enchanting is to strengthen the attributes of something. It can strengthen attack power and defense power. Enchanting body tempering is to apply this effect on the body. Magic, the original function, should be applied to combat uniforms or armor. Orochimaru's golden vertical pupils stared at Satoru. During the Warring States period, many ninjas were used to fighting in armor, because at that time ninjas fought more face to face. But now, the battles of ninjas are gradually turning into the dark. In order to complete tasks with the least cost, espionage and assassination have become the mainstream fighting methods. Few people wear such inconvenient things as armor. And the protective effect of the combat uniform is very limited, but if the combat uniform can have a defensive power comparable to that of armor through magic, wouldn't it be? Orochimaru got excited. If combined with the body tempering technique, the double strengthening of the body and armor, wouldn't it be possible to achieve the effect of continuous protection from ninjutsu? Satoru moved his lips, and praised Orochimaru's jumping speed of thinking. Indeed, as it should be. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 139. Chapter 139 The Ambition of Immortal Art, 612 for subscription. Orochimaru seemed to realize it all of a sudden. However, strengthening the combat uniform is only a universal protection, and the most fundamental thing is the strengthening of the body. At that time, Zishu was able to survive the explosion because of your tempered body. His injuries at that time were even much lighter than that of Kato, who is a Jonin. Orochimaru grabbed Satoru's shoulder excitedly. Enlightenment, there is still room for improvement in the technique of enchanting and tempering the body, right? Of course there is. Enlightenment's face was expressionless, and Orochimaru's huge hand strength didn't make him frown at all. This is an ability that can produce qualitative changes. For example, now, how do you think my physical strength compares to yours? Orochimaru was stunned for a moment, feeling as if he was caught on a statue. Woo, your physical strength is so strong. How old are you? Well, this is the function of the body tempering technique. Currently, it is only the version I use, which can achieve this effect, but I believe that with the continuous research of magic, you can also do it. Enlightenment took off Dashimaru's hands calmly, and at this point, he finally turned Dashimaru around, but he couldn't be blackened again. I met teacher Jiraiya before, but I heard about the 3 great fairy lands. Good. Orochimaru narrowed his eyes and looked left and right. Why, are you interested in Wan Shi? But I can tell you, although that guy is my psychic beast, he has a bad temper. If you are too weak, he won't just ignore you like the toad in Miamu Mountain, he will eat you directly. I'm not interested in that kind of idiot psychic beast. I can't even beat a salamander. Satoru's disdain made Orochimaru a little embarrassed. It seems, the 3 psychic beasts of their 3 ninjas combined, have not been able to beat the salamander. I'm interested in inheritance of immortal arts. Orochimaru's pupils shrank, and fell silent. Immortal art. Regarding Jiraiya's crane tail being able to catch up with him, and even being as famous as himself, of course Orochimaru has studied why. Because Jilla was also in Miamu Mountain, he got the support of the Great Toad Immortal, and was able to practice immortality. The prerequisite for practicing immortality is to have a large enough chakra reserve. When Jiraiya first arrived at Mount Miamu, he was still at the tail end of a crane, but the pertinent teachings of the Toad Immortals made Jiraiya lay a solid foundation from then on, and he was fully prepared to learn fairy arts. His chakra reserves are the largest among the Sunin. Even though he still hasn't been able to master the real fairy art, these solid foundations and many practical tricks still make him stronger. Orochimaru, who puts more emphasis on skills, has been a genius since he was a child, and he doesn't pay much attention to basic chakra levels. Naturally, although he successfully signed a psychic contract with 10,000 snakes in Longdi Cave, in terms of chakras, he did not meet the standard for learning fairy arts. Moreover, Orochimaru's relatively weaker body strength, which is not much stronger than Kato's, also greatly limits the success rate of practicing immortal arts. If you are forced to study. Recalling what Wan Shi mentioned, in the Longdi Cave, those losers who were swallowed up by the cave master White Snake Immortal, cold sweat broke out on Da Shi Wan's forehead. Moreover, he hasn't found out where Ryaji Cave is at all, so with Wan Snake's attitude, he expects it to take Orochimaru there? Dreaming. But then, he perked up again. Perfect, the body tempering technique can significantly enhance the strength of the body, and the enhancement of the strength of the body will also correspondingly increase the reserves of chakra. Orochimaru understood why Satoru mentioned this. If I can strengthen my body, I can try to practice immortality, and immortality is an unavoidable subject on the road to becoming the ultimate individual. As soon as Orochimaru cheered up, he heard footsteps. Tsunade appeared in front of Orochimaru and Satoru with Nawaki and Nanoyu. "It looks like you're fine." Orochimaru turned his head and glanced at Tsunade. Tsunade had recovered from his haggard appearance before. Obviously, the timely appearance of her younger brother and disciple gave her great comfort. "I'm fine, thanks for coming back in time." Tsunade sighed, and then his face became firm. "I didn't expect that at the end of the war, he would suffer such bad luck. But as a ninja, on the battlefield, no one can avoid accidents. Duin died in front of me, but I was powerless. I hated my incompetence. What is the strongest medical ninja in Konoha, who can't even save his lover, so what is the strongest?" Tsunade bit her lips, and Nanoyu tugged at her sleeve worriedly. "Teacher, it is completely impossible to heal an injury of that degree in just a few minutes with medical ninjutsu. It's not your fault." "Silly boy." Tsunade sighed softly, and stroked Nonayu's long beige hair as if withdrawing from himself. "If I can't do it now, it doesn't mean I won't be able to do it in the future. The constant sacrifice will not be in vain. I will definitely develop a more powerful medical ninjutsu. Sister, you can definitely do it." Seeing his sister cheering up again, Naoki finally breathed a sigh of relief. He thought for a while, and proposed a thing that surprised both Tsunade and Orochimaru. "Sister, it is said that Grandpa has a powerful ability to regenerate the body. He can heal wounds quickly without even needing seals. How did he do it? If you refer to this principle, can you?" "Sure." Tsunade's eyes were shining brightly, and he had ignored it before. Grandpa Senshou Hashirama was not only famous for his wooden escape. No one can kill him on the battlefield is the scary thing about Senju Hashirama, the god of ninjas. However, Grandpa's chakra is not comparable to that of ordinary ninjas, it is simply endless. Tsunade knew that, in theory, it was possible to stimulate the body cells through the huge chakra to achieve super-fast recovery. But if a large amount of chakra is sealed in the seal and released when needed, can it meet the short-term high-speed healing needs? Enlightenment seemed to point to something, and proposed a train of thought. Tsunade was slightly taken aback, thinking of a technique. The S-level sealing technique, Yin Seal, can continuously input chakra into it and store it in normal times, and release it when needed, which can meet this condition. Tsunade knew that his grandma had a Yin Seal on Uzumaki Mito's forehead, which was one of the unique and powerful sealing techniques of the Uzumaki clan. Although it is a super advanced sealing technique of S-level difficulty, I believe I can learn it. And with the huge amount of chakra of the Yin Seal, I can try to develop new and more efficient medical ninjutsu. Tsunade clenched his fists, a sneer curled up at the corner of his mouth. "Mr. Sarutobi, didn't you say that during the war, there is no condition for creating a new medical system? Now that the war is over, I will go to him today to settle the matter." Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziyu. Chapter 140. Chapter 140 Work overtime during vacation, 712 Begging to subscribe. After the war, it is the link to settle the war achievements. Therefore, Orochimaru and Tsunade cheered up again, and after each went back to practice their new ideas, Satoru ran home immediately and squatted down. Naishu and the others knew Wu's temperament, so they met and chatted briefly for a while, and they didn't bother him anymore. His father, Mitaman N, questioned Satoru carefully about his achievements, especially the battle against Sancho Hanzo. To be honest, the consultant himself didn't know that his son was already so fierce. The promotion to Jonin this time is basically a certainty. As the war drew to a close, Mitaman's work became more and more busy. Post-war statistics, personnel arrangements, defense arrangements, casualty compensation, and other matters required him to take care of them. The third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen needs to be prepared to negotiate conditions with other countries as a victorious country. Old man Sarutobi will never give up if he doesn't take a lot of money. Therefore, Mitomonon didn't have much time to take care of his son's affairs. After all, on the battlefield of a world-class war, being able to come back alive intact is the greatest gratification for Mr. Consultant. Well, Dingzo, Luju, Haiyi, the performance of the three of you is also good. After a month of rest, the front line finally began to withdraw troops on a large scale. The Zuladi trio, who had emerged on the battlefield, also survived smoothly and returned to the village. Now, the four of them are still relaxing by the river where they used to practice together before. Oh, I can't compare with you, Tisk. Look, I'm getting fat again. Dingzo sighed and patted his big belly. Xiaopang's face was full of disappointment. How can you be popular like this? And, you're teaming up with the two of us anyway, and we don't dislike you. Luju's complaint made Dingzo's forehead burst out with veins. Hey! You are a guy who doesn't hurt your back when you stand and talk. Yoshino is really, woo. Enlightenment watched Luju quickly form seals in a daze. Two little black hands rushed to Dingzo's neck, covered his mouth tightly, and turned to Hai Yamanaka. They are? Jinna. Ahaha, that was saved during one of our missions. Hai. Don't say it. Well, Luju, you can control only one person now. Hai nimbly retreated behind Wu, and quickly gossiped in Luju's cannibalistic eyes. Luju commanded the entire battle. We wiped out one of the enemy's Chunin squads and saved one of our Genin squads. And Jinna is the schoolgirl that Luju saved with his own hands. These two guys saw each other right after that time. Dingzo and I never expected that we agreed to be single together, and this guy Luju turned traitor. Hai cried out heartbroken. Luju. You traitor. I'll kill you, gossip man. Luju jumped up and stopped controlling Dingzo, and ran away after Hai one by one. It's okay, don't cry, you will definitely find a girl who appreciates you. Wu watched Dingzo lying down decadently, and patted his big belly dumbfoundingly. By the way, let me ask you a question. Your cousin, Akimi Shimaru, is Jiraiya-sensei's disciple. Where are he and Namikaze Minato? I met teacher Jiraiya before. He may not be able to return to the village for a long time because of a matter. Please let me take care of his disciples. Yoshimaru, Satoru changed the subject. Dingzo cheered up a little. He went back to the family to practice secret arts. If Namikaze Minato, I'll go back and ask Yoshimaru, I should know where he is. Okay, I'll leave it to you. Be happy, everyone survived the battlefield, and now you know that being in good shape is not as important as surviving. Come, practice cudgel with me. Although ninjutsu can handle most things at this stage, in the battle with Hanzo, I still found that taijutsu is indispensable in high-end battles. Tisk. That's Hanzo. Dingzo showed a longing look on his face. When can I fight against such an existence? There will be a day, come on. Wu took out the psychic scroll, pulled out two long sticks, and threw them to Dingzo, and the two practiced against each other. The next day, after getting news of Minato from Dingzo, Wu went to the back mountain of the village. Minato often practiced here alone. Boom. After flying in the sky for a while in the form of a raven, Satoru easily found the location of Minato. He was practicing Fengdun ninjutsu in the woods, and it was a melee combat method combining Fengdun and taijutsu. Wu observed carefully for a while, and couldn't help admiring, Zilla is really good at teaching students according to their aptitude. Minato's nerve reflexes are excellent, and he is a typical agility and speed ninja. At the same time, he also has an excellent perception talent, and can perceive the strength and type of chakra just like rope tree. Although it is not very obvious now, it can already effectively cooperate with the super strong nerve reflex ability in battle, greatly enhancing the combat effectiveness. Panting, Minato wiped his sweat. The series of attacks just now, the sharp cutting force of the wind escape chakra, made Minato not quite satisfied. The power is not bad, but the explosive power is not enough, so let's try the fire escape. Watergate quick seal. Huo done, cough, cough. Swallowing back the chakra that was about to be sprayed abruptly, Minato couldn't help coughing twice. The feeling of abruptly interrupting ninjutsu was not very good. Yo. Minato, long time no see, have you learned two kinds of nature changes? An ice wall had already been erected, and Satoru walked out from behind the ice wall, scratching his head. He didn't expect Minato to disperse the half-executed ninjutsu. I'm ready for protection. Ah! It's Senior Wu. The moment the ice wall appeared, Minato realized who it was, but in his perception, Enlightenment's chakra appeared suddenly, without any sign at all. However, it's not surprising that Senpai Wu is so powerful. It seems that we can't always rely on chakra perception in the future. Minato thought to himself, and Xiang Wu smiled wryly. Ahem, this is the back mountain of the village. I don't think there will be any enemies. Since I'm from the village, I'm afraid I might accidentally get hurt. If you know it's Senior Wu, I won't be polite. The senior is here to look for me. Haha, Minato, although you have a kind heart, it's best not to let your guard down around the village. Wu scattered the ice wall and threw a bottle of magic cola to Minato. The latter had seen Wu's hand, took the cola, thanked him, and drank it. Satoru told Minato about Jireya's request. Practice with our team now? I learned an interesting ninjutsu a while ago, maybe you will be interested. Okay, thank you, Senior Wu.